In the heart of a bustling metropolis where ambition frequently belies deeper reasons, a tale of love and peril emerged. Jim Jones was a charismatic and powerful guy whose name echoed through the streets. However, beneath his friendly exterior was a complex network of deception and control. Brooke Bailey rose to prominence in the fashion world due to her striking looks and unwavering determination. Her life altered when she met Jim, but her career took off, landing her the contracts she wanted and high-profile runway performances. She initially fell in love with him because of his power and self-assurance, and they had a brief affair that, as their romance developed, Brooke became enamored with Jim's extravagant parties, invitation-only gatherings, and powerful social circles. The attention and prospects made her feel alive and enthusiastic, but as time went on, the glittering exterior started to fade and the darker realities underlying Jim's erratic anger came to light. Brooke would feel helpless and confined as his enthralling displays of adoration would soon turn to jealousy and fury. She often found herself justifying Jim's behavior because she believed that everything could be resolved by love. However, until Jim's kid joined the scene one fateful evening, she began to feel increasingly uneasy, a whisper that something was really wrong. Having witnessed the turmoil of their family and the destructive impact of power on individuals in their vicinity, he was a young man enmeshed in the turmoil of his father's legacy. He recognized the gloom that lay beneath Jim's charming grin, and he knew that the son bore the weight of knowing. After a particularly furious disagreement between Brooke and Jim, the son found her alone in a quiet corner of an extravagant celebration. As he spoke, his voice trembling with haste, his eyes were full with a mix of fear and determination. "You need to leave him," he stated, "because he knows how to break people emotionally and mentally and will make you feel like you're nothing if you don't." Brooke felt a cold shudder run down her spine as his remarks made her heart race. She had brushed aside the vulnerability of her situation, but her bluster was pierced by the honesty in his eyes. The significance of his son's warning now hung over her like a threatening cloud, demanding that she deal with Jim's unpredictable conduct, even while the danger whispers had given her confidence that she could. Weeks passed while Brooke fought with her decision, and each moment she spent with Jim felt increasingly controlling. Memories of Jim controlling her schedule, excluding her from friends, and manipulating her under the pretense of love began to dominate her, and the glitz and glamour she had once cherished began to feel like chains tethering her to a life she no longer recognized. Brooke struggled to convince herself that she could change Jim, and that love would be enough to heal their relationship's wounds, but the more she held on to. During a particularly lavish party that was full of clinking glasses and laughter, Brooke finally lost it. She saw Jim charmed, enthralling everyone with his smile, but when their gazes locked, she felt cold, caught between the guy she thought she loved and the truth that was choking her. The son's warning reverberated mercilessly, urging her to acknowledge the reality she had long disregarded. The more she felt the walls closing in around her, unwilling to accept the consequences, Brooke made the decision to approach Jim. "I can't do this anymore," she said in a trembling but determined voice when she found him in his office the next day. The tension increased by unspoken words. "This is control, not affection." The altercation was explosive. When he saw that she was serious, Jim became enraged and tried to regain control of her by hurling threats and insults. But Brooks was able to see the truth and stood her position, bolstered by the lessons she had learned from her own experiences with his kid. Jim's authority was a front, a cover that hid his uncertainty when she left him and his world. The weight was lifted off her shoulders. Brooke was no longer a prisoner of someone else's scheme and was prepared to write her own tale. Her post-event resolve had been as strong as the threat. Brooke's narrative ultimately became one of empowerment, a lesson that one may find the strength to rise even in the most difficult circumstances. She rekindled friendships, embraced her long-abandoned freedom, and poured herself into her profession after discovering a renewed strength. Despite the difficulties along the way, she grew more convinced that love should elevate rather than ensnare and unearth mysteries concealed in shadows. The light of self-discovery is brighter, yet it may endure. She lights the path to a future molded by her own choices in the middle of a bustling metropolis where ambition frequently hides darker intentions. A tale of peril and affection emerged. Jim Jones was a charismatic and powerful man whose name echoed through the streets, but beyond his attractions lay a web of deceit and power. Brooke Bailey rose to prominence in the fashion world due to her striking looks and unwavering determination. Her career flourished, obtaining the contracts she desired, as well as well-known runway performances, but meeting Jim transformed her life. His strength and confidence first captivated her, drawing her into a fast-paced affair that promised passion and excitement. Jim's lifestyle, which included exposing her to upscale parties, exclusive events, and influential circles, captivated Brooke as their relationship developed. The attention and the chances made her feel alive and thrilled, but as time went on, the glitzy exterior began to wear off, revealing the more sinister reality that underpinned Jim's alluring attractiveness. Then Jim's son came into the picture one fateful evening. He had witnessed the turmoil of his family as a young man caught up in his father's legacy. The attraction of power had molded his early years, but he had also seen firsthand the terrible toll it had on those in its wake. Moments of warmth would soon shift to envy and anger, leaving Brooke feeling vulnerable and trapped. She was constantly defending his actions because she believed that love could make everything better, but she secretly felt a rising uneasiness, a hint that something was very wrong. The son saw Brooke alone in a peaceful area of an extravagant gathering following a particularly violent disagreement between her and Jim. His eyes were full with a mix of terror and resolve, and his voice shook with eagerness as he spoke. "He will ruin your life if you don't leave him. I've witnessed it happen. He is skilled at intellectually and emotionally shattering individuals. He will make you feel insignificant." Brooke felt the shiver run down her spine as his words made her heart accelerate. The candor in his eyes revealed her audacity and revealed the weakness of her situation. She brushed it off. Even though she had been confident that she could manage Jim's unpredictable behavior because of the danger whispers, the gravity of his son's warning suddenly loomed over her like a menacing cloud, demanding her attention. Brooke thought about her options for weeks. Every memory of Jim managing her schedule, excluding her from friends, and dominating her under the pretense of love weakened her resolve, and the glitz and glamour she had once cherished felt like chains binding her to a life she no longer knew. Brooke tried to persuade herself that she could transform Jim and that love would be sufficient to heal their relationship's wounds in spite of her internal conflict. But the longer she clung to that optimism, the more she sensed the walls enclosing her. She was often reminded of the truth she had long disregarded by the son's warning. It was during a particularly lavish party, full of clinking glasses and laughter, that Brooke hit her breaking point. She saw Jim's smile captivate the room, but when their eyes met, she felt cold. Felt trapped between the oppressive truth and the man she thought was her love interest.